stress. So this is, I guess, the thing before the thing for chapter 3.
So I hit record
Yes.
because Helen here actually just started explaining why people are struggling with chapter 3 so much. And
That's
hi.
Good. Hey. Yeah, so I was thinking about it. It's been a while. I kind of think about why people are having issues with chapter 3. The first thing, I think, going into chapter 3, there's a lot of anxiety for a lot of people. And I want you to remember that feeling, because a lot of your clients have that feeling when they come to you. So the feeling of being overwhelmed, the feeling of frustration, that maybe you've taken something similar before, or you tried this before and it's not working. And so try to take that and I guess remember that feeling for when you deal with clients later. The other thing is, I think people who tend to be more detail-oriented and tend to be more concrete thinkers, and this is not in a bad way, just people think differently. Chapter 3 is a lot more difficult for them in that you have to look at chapter 3 as more of the, like, it was a 20,000 foot view from over, like an overview of metabolism. If you start trying to look at the details first, like how many blocks north to get to wherever, what street in this street, and try to memorize all the streets, if you move into a new city, you're kind of in trouble. And that's really the same thing with chapter 3. So what this video series we're going to do is going to kind of give you the 20,000 foot view of chapter 3 and what you really need to take home. And if you want to dive deeper into the details of it, that's great, but I'm going to give you what you need to understand chapter 3 at the level that we want you to understand chapter 3.
So, and then am I understanding it correctly, we're not really expecting people to walk away from chapter 3 being able to explain and understand every single term that occurs in chapter 3 and knowing exactly how things work?
Yeah, no. We want an overview. We want you to have an understanding that why a lot of claims that are made in the fitness industry can't be true.
What would you say be a good test of, like, testing whether you have the basic grasp of chapter 3 maybe before you take on the test itself? It'd be like explaining it to someone.
No, I don't even think explaining, well, I would say you would want to know the 3 energy systems and basically the macronutrients that kind of feed into those energy systems.
That sounds like a pretty manageable amount of info.
In a general sense, it's like, well, how do you get to the grocery store? Well, you head north, right? But I don't want you to know, you drive 2 miles or 2 kilometers north and then turn left at, whatever, McDonald Avenue and then turn right at Main Street.
So 3 energy systems and roughly what macronutrients
they feed in and kind of, yeah. So there's this, so it's a very general overview. We don't want you to memorize the number of things that come out of this and the exact, and you can have the open book.
So the book is there for you guys, that it's an open book exam, and you don't have to get rid of the book. It's going to be there for your reference.
Oh yeah, for sure. And for me, I've done this for years and I've forgotten a lot of it. When I was doing it regularly, I remembered it. It's kind of like, I think of it as, do you memorize a cookbook? And the answer is no. But if you're making tacos every Tuesday, you're going to probably have a pretty good grasp of the taco recipe, right? And you don't have to look at it. But did you sit down and memorize your cookbook?
So, little known fact, I think Helen actually does have Taco Tuesday every Tuesday. So I think we are expecting your favorite taco recipe now. You've mentioned it.
Actually, well, yeah, it's a pound of ground beef. It's a tablespoon of chili, because my kids don't like it much hotter than that. About a tablespoon and a half of kosher salt. And some cumin, sometimes, depends on the girl's mood, and about half a can of of tomato paste.
So I think
an onion and 2 cloves of garlic.
She makes it every Tuesday. She still almost forgot the onion. Did you guys forget?
Well, no, but it's very much of like, I'm in my kitchen and I do this process rather than like, do you remember this, right?
So some folks are finding that once they get to chapter 3, it actually takes them way longer than chapter 2 and chapter 1. Is that normal, or does that mean they're stupid?
It is more. There's more, and it depends what level you want to learn it at. So what I suggest is watch the video series first, and then read the headings of the chapter. So you kind of get a lay of the land, and then start reading through. And it's very much a different language. There's a lot of different terms, and you don't have to memorize what NAD stands for, what FAD is, what FADH2 is. Like, you don't have to memorize what those things are. And I think, again, you don't need to learn it at that level. If you want to, that's great. If you're feeling overwhelmed, then take a step back and just say, you know what, I understand like the summary of this section.
So even going through the chapter and looking at the headings before you start reading, it sounds like a little bit like you're building some shelving before you start throwing pieces of information at them.
Exactly, because it's, you know, it's almost like if you're trying to learn a different language and you just start memorizing, the details of grammar and all this other stuff. Like, it depends what you want to do. Are you just going to another country? Then you just learn